Hello, hello all, and welcome to today's webinar, COVID-19 Impacts on China Feed Industry and China Feed Industry New Policy Interpretations. I'm Ashley from K-Combo, which is a market intelligence provider based on life science, chemical, agricultural industry in China since 2001. And by my side is Nicole.
Hello everyone, we're glad to be the presenters today, and many thanks to our research team for their support.
In that 30 minutes, we will give you an overview of current feed market situation in China, provide an outlook for the impact of COVID-19 on China feed industry, also the China feed industry new policy interpretation.
All the information we provide are from our brand CCM and Chainalysis. CCM is focused on market research and has online platform covering agricultural, chemical, and food and feed industry, which include industrial reports, newsletters, and market data to help you have an advanced insight of the current China market. Another brand, Chainalysis, provides import and export analysis such as import-export price, quantity, origin or destination country, specification, trade term, manufacturers, buyers, and so on. And we will visualize the analysis into different charts and graphics. Please don't hesitate to contact our team if you would like to know more about the platforms and our products.
That's right. Now we can see the agenda today is as follows. It will mainly separate into two parts. In the first part, we will have an overview about the China's feed market, and then we will review the dilemma of feed industry and the government measures. Next is talk about the import analysis of main feed ingredients for January to May 2020. In addition, we will discuss price and trends of main feed ingredients and feed additive for January to June 2020 and analyze potential feed variety related to COVID-19 epidemic prevention and control. What's more, we will show off the change of feed industry under the epidemic and have a look at the new trends of China's feed industry under the impact of COVID-19.
Yes, and in part 2, we will focus on the policy interpretation of AGP's ban, which refers to the ban on using antibiotic growth promoters. And then we will see the new regulation interpretation on fixed self-compounding. And last, we will have a look at the changes of big industry under the new policy. Okay, let's go into today's topic now.
First, let's have a brief review of China's feed market. China is the world's largest feed producer. According to product categories, China's feed is divided into compound feed, concentrate feed, and additive premix feed. If separated by animal species, they are mainly pig feed, layer feed, meat poultry feed, ruminant feed, aquatic feed, etc. Among them, pig feed and milk poultry feed is the main feed in China. Raw material needs for the production of feed industry in China mainly include corn, soybean, fish meal, meat and bone meal, grains, etc. Among them, corn and soybean are the most in-demand raw materials. China industrial feed production value and output declined in 2019 due to the drop in pig production capacity caused by Africa's white fever and the severe international trade situations. But feed additive products have grown steadily, and the operation of large-scale enterprise is generally stable. In 2019, the total output value of the national feed industry reached 808.81 billion yuan, and the operating income was 778 billion yuan.
As for the total industrial feed output, in 2019, the total national industrial feed output was around 229 million tons, a year-on-year decrease of 3.7%. In the total feed output, the proportion of pig feed dropped from 44% in the previous year to 33.5%, and the proportion of the poultry feed rose from 41.4% to 50.6% in the previous year. From this chart, we can see in 2019, the national output of material additives still achieved a year-on-year increase of 8.2%, which reaching about 12 million tons, though the total output of industrial feed in the country has declined. Except for the slow growth of mineral elements, the output of amino acids, vitamins, enzyme preparation, and microbial preparation are all maintain steady growth.
In 2019, there were 621 national feed production plants with a scale of more than 100,000 tons, accounting for 46.6% of the total national feed output. There are 31 feed enterprise groups with an annual output of more than 1 million tons, accounting for 50.5% of the total national feed output, of which 3 enterprise groups have an annual output of more than 10 million tons. To some extent, China's feed industry is gradually recovering, and the industrial structures is also optimizing.
Right, but it is no doubt that COVID-19 came in a sudden and affected our life, the industries, and the economy. In the early February, feed industries faced many of changes. For the production side, the delayed resumption of work, shortage of raw material, price rising of bulk raw materials and feed ingredients bring a great impact. Moreover, the traffic control, low operating rate, increased freight consists of a big problem for the sales side. And for the breeding side, rising costs and build-up of the breeding products due to the ban on the sales of poultry. All of these factors disrupted the usual rhythm of buying and selling in the feed industry.
That is the pandemonium for the feed market, but fortunately, the government also have issued some measures to handle these situations, like increase the input of corn and other reserve grants, speed up the restoration of production of enterprise producing soybean meal to ensure the supply of farm feed material. What's more, to support the restoration of market order and speed up the production and sale of the products, the government also carry out policy like the exemption of toll roads, opening green channels, and supporting legal slaughterhouse to resume work as soon as possible.
Wow, that's a good sign. Overall, in the first half of 2020, although China's feed industry is under pressure in terms of raw material supply and production costs, thanks to the government's measure, the feed industry has overcome the impact of the epidemic and overall production and sales are booming.
When look at the table, I think many of our audience were curious about that the increased production is higher than the same periods in the last 2 years because normally the outputs will lower due to the Spring Festival. But we can see this from the table that the production is higher in 2020. So I wonder what's better cause is.
That's a good question, actually. It is because the feed enterprises have speeded up the production of feed after the resumption of work, and they're afraid that the government will issue the prohibition of the resumption of work again. In March and April, caused the transportation back to normal, so the feed production rise accordingly. Undoubtedly, China's main feed raw materials are in short supply, which resulting from China's corn and soybean imports have increased from January to May 2020 compared with the same period in 2019. Referred to June main raw materials, China's corn imports amounted to around 2.8 million tons, have increased 382,000 tons compared to the same period of last year, an increase rate of 16%. The average import price was $230.2 per ton, a year-on-year decrease of 2.1%.
Yes, For soybeans, we can see from the table that China's corn import value increased significantly in the first 2 months, when it was the most serious period for COVID-19, and China need to import amount of soybean to ease the pressure of the shortage. For January to May 2020, China's soybean imports amount to around 33.4 million tons, have increased 2.2 million tons compared to the same periods of last year. The increase rate of 6.8%. The average import price was US$ 394.9 per ton, a year-on-year decrease of 5.3%.
Let's go into next part, price change of main feed ingredients and main feed additives from January to June 2020.
On above, we mentioned the corn and soybean import price show a downward trend. Now we will talk about the market price. For January to April 2020, China corn price recovers from the downturn at the end of 2019, and the overall performance was strong. Corn price rose sharply in May because of the disconnection between the supply and demand of corn, although this fell slightly in June, but it still remained high. It is worth to notice that in 2020, the National Temporary Reserve Corn Auction maintained a high transition and high premiums, which has also linked to the high price of corn in May to June period. According to previous year's records, the price became lowered with more auction there. In addition, affected by the epidemic, although soybean meal price for January to April 2020 were also stronger than the last year, they began to plunge sharply at the end of April, leading to an overall decline in soybean meal price throughout the first half of the year. The main reason was that the quantity of import soybean to Hong Kong increased gradually in the later periods, which impacts the markets as well.
Thank you, Ashley. Except to the raw feed ingredient, the impact also revealed in the prices of major feed additives such as amino acids and vitamins to soy. From January to June 2020, China's vitamin prices fell first, then rose, and finally returned to stability. During March and April, there is a price rise of individual variety acceleration. Take vitamin D3 as an example, exchange rate was up to about 200%. Because the price of vitamins in April was generally at the highest level, the increase or decrease can be more intuitively described the impact of the epidemic on its prices. From May to June, the epidemic was basically under full control. After the rapid increase in price of vitamins in the early period, the price of vitamins fluctuated and consolidated, and the overall return was stable. Even in June, the prices of some vitamins fell from January. For more new information about the vitamin, you can contact with your account manager.
Yes, for January to June 2020, the change of China amino acids price is roughly the same as that of vitamins. The overall trend is to decline first, then rise, and then develop slightly. The difference is that the price increase change of amino acids is smaller than vitamins. In addition, the price of all amino acids in June still increased significantly compared with January. So this furthermore detailed information we also report in our amino acids and vitamin news. So you can feel free to contact your account manager to know more about information.
Actually, I found that the price change of tryptophan is very stand out of all of the amino acids. What is the reason? Is it caused by the COVID-19?
Yes, Nico, this is a good question. Then you're right. The outbreak of COVID-19 in January to February periods reduced its production. I think the original price is high compared to other amino acids, so the price change will more widen in this chat. Actually, in April, tryptophan's price increase rate has been up to 51.3%. It was until June that the price fell back, when the epidemic was basically controlled and many of producers back to work.
Oh, I got it now. Thank you, Ashley. Next, after these topics, let's make a summary on the changes of China's fish industry under the epidemic. The COVID-19 brought both challenges and opportunity to the feed industry. As the epidemic has been under control, feed output has been secured and is better than last year. According to the data from National Bureau of Statistics, the current national pig production is better than expected. With the improvement in demand for pig feed and gradual recovery of production, the feed industry is expected to usher in development in the second half of the year. However, due to the epidemic, the price of corn as the main feed ingredient is out of line with supply and demand. Up to now, China's corn price is still fluctuating and rising, and it is expected to remain high in the future, which will increase the feed costs. Some market sources say that the government may implement policy to adjust if the prices of the raw grains continue to rise.
Yes, and internal China, government has also issued a series of measures. For example, cracking down on illegal trade and prohibit the consumption to wild animals, restrict live poultry trade and slaughter, encourage the promotion of concentrated live poultry slaughter, and gradually cancel live poultry market trade. They will strengthen the monitoring and early warning of the material supply guarantees and market scheduling. As for foreign import situations, the COVID-19 have increased the uncertainty in the import of feed ingredients, such as corn, soybean, fish meal, etc. Some international ports are closed. Many countries have suspended export of main feed ingredients like soybean and corn to China, and the import of feed material to the ports has been delayed. At the same time, the price of import products are rising, and the supply of feed material and industrial safety remains worrying. This situation will show up especially in the United States, Brazil, and Argentina, which China mainly imports soybean from. The United States and Brazil are now suffering from the epidemic, and the number of confirmed cases is still rising, which brings great uncertainty to China's soybean import.
Generally speaking, corn and soybean meal have a greater impact on the supply chain of China's feed industry, and other feed materials such as barley, sorghum, red meal, and meat and bone meal can be used instead of each other. Therefore, as long as the supply of corn and soybean meal is stable in the short term, China's feed industry trend will be guaranteed. In the long run, the impact of the epidemic on macroeconomics, monetary policy, international food trade, industrial policies, etc., will also be transmitted to the feed industry. Specifically, it will be manifested as increased business pressure, increased industry differentiation, and accelerated mergers and acquisitions.
Yes, and for the part one, we know that the COVID-19 have a great impact for the feed industry. So, in fact, it's not only the epidemic, but also some government policy brings some challenge and opportunity too. So now we will move to the second part, China's feed industry new policy interpretations. For know more about the detailed information that in accordance of Ministries of Agriculture's announcement number 194, which starting for July 1st, 2020, feed manufacturers will stop producing commercial feed that containing growth-promoting drugs feed additive, except for traditional Chinese medicine. After the policy is implemented, it is expected that feed industry will face the following opportunity and challenge. The first challenge will reveal the breeding benefits part with a higher incidence of livestock and poultry. That is because in the early stage of pig care, pig seeding and pig leg are particularly prone to illness. The mortality rates of pigs will increase without the support of antibiotics feed, and this situation will be more likely shown in small and medium-sized farms with a poor breeding condition. The second challenge is the higher breeding costs. After the ban of antibiotics, the feed industry must look for alternatives, and the cost of disease treatments will also increase. The third challenge is the increased feed consumption ratio, refers to the amount of feed consumed by raising livestock and poultry by 1 kilogram. Without antibiotics, the growth rate of livestock and poultry will slow down, the growth cycle will be lengthened, and the production efficiency will be reduced.
As for the change of the market supply, it will be in the shortage of leg pigs and breeding source and decline production of leg pig, which were both affected by African swine fever epidemic. The policy will make it more difficult to restore the production capacity of pig, and the output of small and medium-sized farms will decline, but the production capacity of large-scale breeding enterprises will increase. In terms of total volume, the impact of this policy is limited, but pork prices may remain high.
As people always say, challenge and opportunity are intertwined, so COVID-19 also brings some positive impacts of feed ingredient industry.
Right, recently, a large number of alternative antibiotic products will rise rapidly, and antibiotic-free is the future trend of animal husbandry. Breeding companies can also reduce and replace antibiotics as a transitional measure. In recent years, the breeding and feed industries have accelerated the research and practice of reducing and replacing antibiotics. Many companies have developed products that replace them, including the Chinese herbal medicines, enzyme preparations, probiotics, and plant essential oils and other products. From this point of view, the feed industry is bound to set up an upsurge to replace the antibiotics. It's worth noting that many domestic feed companies raised their feed prices from 50 yuan to 100 yuan per ton, which equals to 7 to 14 US dollar per ton, one after another in days before the ban on release was officially implemented on July 1st.
Yes, the second policy is the announcement number 307 of the on farmer cell products producing ingredients, which involve the requirements for the use of raw material, additive, and veterinary drugs and will be implemented on August 3rd, 2020. Among the regulations, it is mentioned that the self-made ingredient is strictly prohibited to sell. In terms of raw material, those substances not included in catalogue of free ingredients which published by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs should not be used in self-made ingredients. For additive, substance beyond the regulation is banned as well. Veterinary drugs should not be used in self-made feed unless this mentions in regulations of anti-coincidence and Chinese medicine drugs which allowed by the government. According to the data for the government, China's agricultural feed consumption in 2019 was about 350 million tons, of which 210 million tons of commercial compound feed, accounting for 60%, and the remaining 40% were prepared by farms themselves. After the regulation implements, it will be more conducive to maintain the order of feed production and use, and ensure the quality and safety of agricultural products.
The formal implementation of this regulation may face challenges too, since the sales of ingredients is strictly prohibited. Some processing factories may be affected. Farms that use self-producing ingredients will increase the feed costs to a certain extent. There will be a phenomenon in which powerful companies will develop steadily and become stronger, while companies' lack of technology and capital are likely to go bankrupt or be acquired.
Yes, and after all these topics, let's make a summary on the change brought by the new policy to the feed industry. For follow-up the antibiotics trends, many of companies will have the main operation. The first is that adopt comprehensive technical measures. They'll accelerate the promotion of standardized scale feeding, improve the overall biosafety level of farm to reduce the risk of animal disease fundamentally. The second is that develops and use of new green feed additive as alternative products, such as Chinese herbal medicines, enzymes preparations, probiotics, additives, plant essential oil, etc.
For the government side, they already have some measures to help the industry to recover. The first thing is to implement incentives and innovation policies by optimizing new product review and approval procedures and encourage new products declaration. And then there was strict supervision and maintenance of order crackdown on unfair competition and standardized industry development. For example, Announcement Number 312 of the Ministry of Agriculture officially released a standard screening and confirmation methods for risk substances in feed, which will be implemented on July 3, 2020. The significance of this document is to be able to quickly discover illegally added substances in feed, feed additives, and feed ingredients, which improve the safety of pigs and maintain the market rule for the feed industry. Also, in the future, it may show the trends as follows. And the leading feed companies with strong research and development strength and good management will show competitive advantage and their market share will further expand. Alternative antibiotic products will have a favorable developed environment, and the new policy urges the breeding industry to speed up technological progress, improve the level of breeding management, and strengthen biosafety measures. And then the antibiotic-free meat products may become a new marketing hotspot.
Yes, thanks Nico, and thank you so much for sharing. And besides, have a look at our new platform Impact Factor. It can help you to stay ahead of the market competitions through grasping insight over the more important factor in the changing world. The hot factor recently is COVID-19. And after signing in our website, you can review the global COVID-19 situations, like local news and track the exit and interest policy in the platform. You can also review the government policy in different provinces like this and get the visualized data of China exportation analyzed based on the products you are interested in and reach the information according to the industry. And the webinar will be recorded and we will send you the link later. If you have any questions, you can feel free to write it down in the chat box and send to your account managers. And we also hope you can get some key points out of this presentation and other information we can find in our band CCM and channel analysis. If you want to find out more, I recommend you to visit our website or contact our team to get some sample for reference. And also the last is welcome to give your webinar suggestion to us. It will be very helpful to us to select the topics and suggestion to hold the next webinar. Then thank you again and have a nice day. And we want to see you in the next webinar. Thanks. Bye.